Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today I am going to do a very quick, short review of Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishigura, which was the May pick for Peter's Book Club this month. If you are following along with Peter's Book Club, I post them over on Instagram. All you have to do to be part of Peter's Book Club is to just say, I'm part of Peter's Book Club. If this goes well for a year, I'm thinking like in January, maybe doing something a little bit more official, but I'm not really sure what that will look like yet. So if you're following along, then you know the June book. I was reached out to, like somebody left a comment underneath one of my book posts that I put on my Instagram, my Peter Monn Instagram. And they said, can you start announcing the book on the 15th of the month, like when you do a True Crime Book Club's post, because that way it'll give me time to get the book from the library. And I was like, I think that's a fantastic idea. So around the 15th of the month, which is when Mel and I post the book for the next month, we try to make it the 15th. Sometimes it's the 20th, you know. But on the same day that I post that, or around the same day, I'm going to post the book for Peter's Book Club as well. For the month of June, I picked a book that I'm very, very excited about. I have wanted to read this for a long time. I actually already have the audio version of it. I downloaded it months ago. And that is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, and I have heard fantastic things about this. So just to read you guys a synopsis of this really quick before we get into the review of Klara and the Sun. Mexican Gothic, it says right here, masterful, a gloriously moody adventure, spooky, smart, and wry by Victor Laval, author of The Changeling. And it says right in here, after receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin, Naomi Taboda heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside, unsure what she will find. Naomi is an unlikely rescuer. She's a glorious debutante, more suited to cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing, but she's also tough, smart, and not afraid. Not of her cousin's new English husband, a stranger who is both menacing and alluring. Not of his father, the ancient patriarch who seems fascinated by Naomi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Naomi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Naomi's only ally in this inhospitable place is the family's youngest son, but he too may be hiding something dark. For there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place, as Naomi discovers when she begins to unearth stories of violence and madness. Mesmerized by this terrifying yet seductive world, Naomi may soon find it impossible to save her cousin, or even escape this enigmatic house. And I have to tell you, while I was reading that, I just decided my July book. I don't know how I just decided that, but I was like, oh my god, I know what I'm going to read for July. It just like came to me. I was so excited. Okay, so that's the June book, Mexican Gothic. Please read it along with me. I have heard fantastic things about this. Actually, quite a few people posted on the Instagram story underneath there that they had already read it and they really liked it. You know what? I haven't taken the cover off this. Let's look and see what the cover looks like. Just a red cover. I like sometimes when you take the cover off. And I didn't do it with Klara and the Sun either. And it's something kind of surprising. So let's see. Sylvain Neuvel, he is like really famous for that. Okay. Boring. Anyway, let's talk about Klara and the Sun for a second. So, if you didn't read it along with us this month, I am going to read you the synopsis right here. From the best-selling author of Never Let Me Go and The Remains of the Day, a stunning new novel, his first since winning the Nobel Prize in Literature, about the wondrous, mysterious nature of the human heart. From her place in the store, Klara, an artificial friend with outstanding observational qualities, watches carefully the behavior of those who come in to browse and of those who pass in the street outside. She remains hopeful a customer will soon choose her, but when the possibility emerges that her circumstances may change forever, Klara is warned not to invest too much in the promises of humans. Klara is warned not to invest too much in the promises of humans. In Klara and the Sun, Kazuo Ishigura looks at our rapidly changing modern world through the eyes of an unforgettable narrator to explore a fundamental question. What does it mean to love? Okay, I have to tell you, I wasn't really sure of what I thought of this book for probably a majority of it. I actually listened to the Audible version of it. Surprise! And the Audible version was beautifully narrated, first of all. And y'all know, like, a bad narrator can ruin a book for me, but it wasn't. It was a really great narrator. It's told from the point of view of Klara. I would tell you that because of the way that the book, the characterization, the way that it was framed, the timing, the pacing, it was like reading beautiful prose. Towards the end, I would say, like, before the last half an hour, I would have given it a 4-star out of 5. But the last half an hour, I found myself ugly crying in the car as I was driving around listening to it, and it was hands down one of the most beautiful books I think I have ever read in my entire life, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. Really because of the last half an hour. I had felt for quite some time. So the story is this, and this is going to be a little bit spoilerish, but I will try not to ruin it too much for you. The book is about Klara, and she is in this store where they sell artificial friends, and I guess they're kind of like robots. There's a lot of things that are very ambiguous about this book that you don't know. First of all, it takes place in the future, but you don't know how far in the future. It doesn't seem too far in the future. I would say 50 to 100 years, maybe max. It feels like that. Maybe more like 50 years though. And there is something that the educational system of the kids in the book is very ambiguous as well. There are some kids that are just on the same track as they were before, and they're basically teaching themselves educationally. And then there are kids that are called, they've been lifted, and I'm not really sure what that means. They don't ever go in and explain in the book what that means. But I almost have a feeling that it has something to do with like genetic coding, or it has something to do, they change something organically about them medically, because a lot of the kids that have been lifted, there's the main character. Oh my God, my squirrel is up there looking down at all of our plants. I cannot believe he is so big this year. Sammy the squirrel is back. I love it. Anyway, there's something I think that happened. I mean, I'm just assuming this from the book. I could be completely wrong. That when they choose to be, it's called lifted, and it makes them more like, they're like the gifted ones, and they're like better suited for college and all this kind of stuff. And the ones that don't can't compete with that. I don't really know why. But then there's a lot of sickness that goes along with the kids that are lifted, like terminal illness, but they don't really go in and explain why that is either. So Klara and her friend Rosa are sitting, is it Rosa or Rosie? I think it's Rosa, are sitting in the store, and then they get moved around the store, and Klara's very observational in a way that like the other ones aren't. Like she notices things, like they sit in the window often, and she loves to sit in the window and look out on the street. And she'll sit on the street and she'll notice like 2 taxi cab drivers fighting, and she'll say to like her friend Rosa, she'll say, I think it was Rosa, isn't it? I should look at the beginning. It'll be right at the beginning because her friend was right at the beginning part. Rosa, yeah. Literally, first sentence. When we were new, Rosa and I were mid-store on the magazine's table side and could see through more than half the window. So we were able to watch the outside, the office workers hurrying by, the taxis, the runners, the tourists, Beggarman and his dog, the lower part of the RPO building. Once we were more settled, manager allowed us to walk up to the front until we were right behind the window display, and then we could see how tall the RPO building was. And if we were there at just the right time, we would see the sun on his journey crossing between the building tops from our side over to the RPO building side. So it goes in and it talks basically about how these artificial friends get their energy from the sun, and you don't really know if it's true or if it's not true, but Klara believes it to be true. Klara believes in the sun almost in a religious way, and I think that that's really important to the context of the book, that I think he is making commentary on religion and hope within religion and miracles within religion. And so they wait, and her strongest suit is that she is able to observe all these things. Oh, for example, like the people fighting on the street, the 2 taxi car drivers. She says to Rosa, her friend, did you see them? They were fighting. And she says something back, no, they were having fun. Like she doesn't conceptually understand it. So you realize from the very beginning that Rosa observes things on a level that is different than other people. The question, I think, is really about, for me, it was really sad because out of the whole book, out of all of the humans, minus maybe the neighbor boy, out of all of them, Klara, the artificial friend, the robot, had more heart than anybody else in the entire book. And I think that that was really what the book was about, because she didn't believe for herself that she could learn that, but she already had it. She already had this love for other people and this respect for other people, and it was really genuine and innocent the way that she played. So she basically gets bought by this mother and daughter, and the daughter is sick, and she becomes her artificial friend and her best friend for a while. Well, at the time that she gets her, she's like 13, which I actually, in the context of our world today, and it does take place in the United States, because at the end of the book, the housekeeper ends up moving to Indiana, where I live, which I think is interesting, and then later goes to California, and they reference that. But you don't really know where it takes place. It takes place out in the country somewhere. So she becomes this girl's artificial friend, and then it follows her through life. I don't really want to ruin a whole lot for you because there's this whole subplot of this plan about this girl with her terminal illness that I did not see coming and I did not expect. The book is not boring. I read it literally in like 3 days or listened to it in 3 days, but it's not fast-paced either. I mean, it's not a suspense. It's nothing like that. It kind of just unfolds and happens in this beautiful kind of way. When I'm telling you the end of this book, and I don't want to ruin it for you, but I so fell in love with Klara as a character by the end of this book. She just was so magical. And her just genuine innocence of this belief system that she had, and the sun could do anything for her, you know, and the hope that she had inside her heart in this belief in the sun could do anything. Like I said, like from a religious point of view. And I really do think that it's the author making commentary on religion. I think that Kazuo Ishigura is talking about several different things in here. He's talking about religion, and I think he's talking about rushing our kids too much, and we're pushing them and we're not allowing them to be children. I think that he's making commentary on technology and the danger of technology. That's a huge part of what he's talking about in here, and the pollution of technology. There's so many different things that he's talking about in here, but yet he weaves it together in a way that is so just calmly and peacefully beautiful. Like it's just, I mean, like he just like lays it down, right? Like as if it was like a lone violinist playing on a stage is exactly how he writes it. And I'm telling you, like, it just kind of like snuck up on me, like how much I really loved Klara at the end of this book. There is a parting of the ways at the end, and the way that the book ends, like I kind of wondered how the book was going to end, like, and you kind of know in advance, like it prepares you for that, but I kind of wondered what was going to happen. And what's so interesting to me is she is so much a part of all of these people's lives for so long, and I'm getting kind of teary-eyed thinking about it right now, because I think it's such a testament to how life is. You know, there was a part of it at the very end. Well, I will tell you at the beginning, it reminded me a lot of The Velveteen Rabbit. It also reminded me of the children's book Corduroy. But there was a part of it at the end of it that really reminded me of Life of Pi, if you've read the book or seen the movie. In that, I think that many of us, really believe that other people care more about us than maybe they do, which is a sad sentiment, or that we have deeper connections with people than maybe they're able to give us. You know? And this book, I think, was a witness to, there are a lot of people out there that are very selfish and self-centered in their own journey of their life, which maybe we all should be, right? But what would our journey be like if we hadn't met, you know, the lion and, you know, the scarecrow and the Tin Man? I mean, what would our journey be like? You know, it would be a quick walk through Oz. And I think Kazuo Ishigura shows that in this book, you know, how important people are to us. And the overwhelming lesson at the end of the book, and this will not ruin the book for you, right, is that to find out truly, profoundly what love is, it is not to look for love inside ourselves, but it is how we love others. And so love is really determined by others loving us and us loving others, right? It's in the action. It's not in what do we have inside of us. You can't look inside of someone and say they're a loving person. You see it in their actions towards somebody else. And it was, and so truly to say that Klara was the most loving character of this book it was just so beautifully done, you know? And she had been from day one, and that's what you realize at the end of the book. I loved this book. I didn't expect to, I have to tell you. When I started it, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this book. Like, I don't even know if I understand this book. Like, I feel like it's so over my head. And it is. I think a lot of it is over my head. There's a lot of things that are missed because so Klara refers to things like, I'm trying to think of something like if it was like Burger King, right? But it said BK on the sign, she wouldn't refer to it as like Burger King, the cheeseburger place. She would refer to it as the BK, the BK store. So you kind of don't know what she's talking about a lot of times because she doesn't have any conception of the world other than what she sees visually, right? So, and trying to make sense of it. But anyway, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. If you haven't read Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, please go check it out. It is a fantastic book. And like I said, I think if you're gonna read it and get anything out of it, you have to stay in the simplicity of what the message is. And the message is about you know, how do we love one another? It's really about that, and how can we selflessly love one another? That's really the message of the book, I think. And if you get mixed up in all the other stuff, it'll become very confusing. You have to stay in the simplicity of that. But anyway, I gave it 5 stars. So I will be back next month with my review of Mexican Gothic. And I'm excited about that. So anyway, I'm going to get off here now, and I hope you guys are having an amazing last day of May. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.